what we mean by ACMI. Everybody knows the mechanics. It's an aircraft, it's crew, it's maintenance, it's insurance. What we are trying to communicate, it means maximization of income for airlines. A lot of airlines are used to selling more tickets than what they have. They have all the data to understand when they can sell more. Where we come in is that we can provide customized solutions to tell them you need 1 plane, 2 plane, 5 plane, 10 plane, 20 planes. Our airlines service support other airlines in developing their revenue during their peak seasons. And these airlines are generally leisure airlines, which are even more affected than full-price airlines. We are one of the few airlines that has this network to transition planes between regions, but also the scale to be a one-time solution for a lot of other airlines. See, we can deploy 20 planes at a time, which is efficient. It's a self-nurturing cycle. Our airlines fly more and they support more airlines in more parts of the world. Just for this purpose, we can facilitate the economic growth, the development of many, many regions, both with passenger, with cargo. We do all this. I believe this will be a lot of development of the group in various parts of the world over the next weeks, months, years.
Pascal, it's great to have you here again. And obviously we spoke 18 months ago. At that time, you had just joined the group's board, appointed to as a member of the board of Avia Solutions Group. That time, the group had a fleet of about 150 aircraft. Since then, the fleet is now at 220 aircraft, and we've established airlines in Europe, of course, United Kingdom, and Southeast Asia. And we're in the process of also establishing airlines in Latin America and in Southeast Asia as well. Since then, the term ACMI has grown not just in utilization and not just as a global attention, as a global model, but in relevancy as well today. Why is that?
That's a very interesting question, and thank you for asking me this question, Michael. To add to the growth of the infrastructure, because we talk about it in terms of infrastructure, we have also acquired an airline in Australia, which gives us a footprint there, and we hope Australia would be another growth market for us, which we strongly believe it will be. But to come back on the relevance of what we mean by a CMI, everybody knows the mechanics. It's an aircraft, it's crew, it's maintenance, it's insurance, and we happen to have an involvement, to be involved in all of these segments, which is great. But what it really means, and what we are trying to communicate, it's that it means maximization of income for airlines. You see, our airlines service support other airlines in developing their revenue during their peak seasons. This is when they have the highest yield. This is when they have the highest traffic. But when we look at airlines business, at our business, there's very little we can control with the cost of money. Very little we can control with the fluctuation in currencies values against each other. There's very low we can control on the cost of fuel. There's very low we can control on overheads, parts, and other aspects. The only one that we believe airlines can control to their benefit is utilization. Now, that utilization only works if you get more capacity during the increase in traffic, and that extra capacity gets out of your fleet when the demand goes down. That's where we're coming. We are one of the few airlines that has this network to transition planes between regions, but also the scale to be a one-time solution for a lot of other airlines. See, we can deploy 20 planes at a time, which is efficient. We can afford to have a backup plane, spare aircraft, with spare crew, spare everything to support the business of the airline, just like it would be that airline. We're setting up men's organizations throughout the world in order to support our airline with our crew to support the operation of another airline. So our planes with our airline can fly just as much as the airline customer. So we can be better integrated into that airline's operation. If we're better integrated, we fly more. They generate more revenue, we generate more revenue. It's self-serving and it's useful. And that's how the group has been transforming and will keep transforming towards becoming even more relevant to the airline customers of the group.
Looking at that, the snapshot that you've just given us of the benefits of, ACMI, who stands to benefit most from implementing or practicing using this model within their operations?
I would say every airline, specifically the ones that, because every airline's business is affected by seasonality, no matter what. So the airlines, though, that will benefit the most are the airlines that have been developing a low-cost carrier inside of their airline group. Our planes are made to fly for these low-cost carriers, and because they are in single class for the most part. We're considering other aspects, but for the most part, they're in single class, high density. So if an airline has developed these low-cost models, and they are most large group of airlines have such low-cost models inside of their airline group. We support their fleet. And these airlines are generally leisure airlines, which are even more affected than the full price airline to seasonal traffic. So this is where our airplanes, through our airlines, are the most useful to other airlines.
Just a term that keeps coming up, which is seasonality, or you said seasonal traffic, as well as counter-cyclical regions in the world.
Yes.
Why are these words so important to the ACMI model or to the business practice?
Well, in order for us to provide a good service, and to make money, which is the end game, we need to increase the number of hours we fly. You see, in the Northern Hemisphere, the summer season, the high demand season, has been increasing in time. It used to be July, August, then it became middle of June to middle of September. Today, it seems that it has increased from April to October. So that's great. But then it leaves the other period of the year with less flying. But that's only because it's less flying in the Northern Hemisphere. Our airlines are just as affected as the other airlines that sell tickets, because that's what our airlines don't do. We don't sell tickets. See, scheduled carriers in the Northern Hemisphere, they make money during that extended summer period, and then they spend money the rest of the year, as we do. Except that if we want to go beyond that model and provide more flexibility using our plane, which frankly is also better from an environment perspective, we need to find business for our plane in other parts of the world. And let's say we want to open Brazil. We are opening Brazil. Brazil will be counter-cyclical because the high season there is during November to February, which is their summer. So if we are successful at developing a business in Brazil to support airlines throughout South America, it's going to be called Avion Express Brazil. And we already have an organization. The AOC Air Operating Certificate is almost there. And we have selected planes to go. It's very close to becoming a reality. We could actually move those planes later on, after they finish their season in Brazil, to Europe to support the higher traffic in Europe. The same thing with Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia high traffic is between December to April. So if planes are there during that time, they can come to Europe during the May to October and then go back to Southeast Asia. Our planes in Northern Hemisphere can also do the same. Europe. Our planes in Europe can do the same. They can operate during May, April, May to October, and then go to Southeast Asia, go to Australia, hopefully, go to other parts of the world. It's about becoming more useful, more to adapt better to the regulatory environment that every other airline is working with.
Now, you've also mentioned the infrastructure all around the world, this AOC infrastructure that the group is building all around the world, Latin America, Europe, Southeast Asia, and Australia as well. What's the benefit for the customer? I mean, why the infrastructure all around the world? Why not just have one AOC in one central location?
From a regulatory perspective, there are parts of the world where the regulator do not allow ACMI. They just don't. So that business cannot be developed unless you have an AOC on site. But that's Thailand. It's embryonic, and the group has been working with the regulator there to develop their perception, and hopefully one day allow it in a bigger scale. Now it's allowed, but only on some very specific requirements. We're setting up an AOC there because we want to get access to that market. We believe there's a lot of required extra capacity. It's highly seasonal. And because we will have an airline, we'll have also executives that can interact with the regulator, with the authorities, with the other airlines to promote the business of ACMI, which will be aircraft capacity maximization income. These airlines, because they have a seasonal traffic, when we bring extra capacity, they'll be able to prepare for that extra capacity and hopefully make a lot more money.
Coming back to that term, ACMI, aircraft capacity maximization income, now the capacity or having the capacity is such an important part of the model. And when you look at the market today, in trying to source aircraft, obviously everybody's looking for metal. The metal is quite expensive, and the group does have quite an ambitious growth plan over the next couple of years. How do you plan to expand your fleet going forward into the future?
So we have been quite conservative in committing to more aircraft in this environment. And we have been incentivizing the airlines of the group to grow the utilization per plane, which we believe is the right strategy, fleet strategy in this environment. And we have seen the utilization of aircraft grow year on year, quarter on quarter. We have, and that's in conjunction with these additional airlines that we're setting up. It has also helped utilization in different regions. So it's a self-nurturing cycle. Our airlines fly more, and they support more airlines in more parts of the world, which we believe is the right chemistry in order to have long-term benefits from for everybody, for our airline customers, because they see the benefit, they can grow their revenue and their profits. For our airlines, because they again grow their revenue, and it will be profitable for the group.
Now, looking at the group's fleet structure and utilization, which aircraft, be it narrowbody or widebody, work best within the ACMI model?
The business of ACMI so far has been more developed in the narrowbody than in the widebody. The widebody segment has not been a segment where the group has been developing itself in the same way that the passenger business for narrowbody aircraft. And at this stage, the focus is very much on the narrowbody aircraft business. It's product because it's a single class for the most part, whereas a lot of the widebody business has different classes, different types of seats, and it's an expensive investment to look at customizing the planes seat-wise, IFE-wise, to meet the requirements of the long-haul aircraft types. It requires a special organization, special investments, dedicated investments to support the widebody long-haul. And so far, it's proven a better investment for the group to look at narrowbody. Not saying we will never go into the widebody, but it's more attractive at this stage.
Now, if you wind the clock back a couple of years ago, cargo was a very hot topic. Today, the market is slightly different. Is the ACMI model the same for cargo operators in the cargo industry? I mean, does cargo experience the same demand and seasonal peaks that are seen in the passenger segment?
It's another good question, Michael. Thank you. Cargo, when we talk about counter-cyclical traffic, cargo is usually high or gets higher in the third quarter and then in the fourth quarter. And then it goes down in the first and the second quarter to come back up. It's very much linked to the holiday seasons in the Northern Hemisphere again. So the group has been involved in the cargo business, and some of the changes over the last 18 months have been to merge a bit some of those airline businesses so that they would have, again, more utilization. There could be more synergies on overheads, on fleets, on spares.
I want to come back to the topic of utilization. What percentage of an airline's fleet should ACMI, or what percentage of an airline's fleet should be implemented with ACMI for them to see a benefit?
Airlines have to work with their own fleet already, their own crew, their own maintenance, and but one aspect that is quite interesting is that a lot of airlines are used to selling more tickets than what they have. And it's unfortunate when you're on the side of the person that last checks in. So they know they can sell more. They have all the data to understand when they can sell more and at what price they can sell more. Where we come in is that we can provide customized solutions to tell them you need 1 plane, 2 plane, 5 plane, 10 plane, 20 planes. We have an airline currently, 2 airlines currently with 20 of our planes. So it's very much the more the airlines want our aircraft, the more synergy there can be. Because with more planes, we have also better infrastructure, maintenance, people, logistics, engineering, to increase the number of hours that we'll be flying for them and become more cohesive with their operation. There are 2 aspects that is seldom discussed in the industry. One is that everybody seems very happy about 80% load factor. But it really means is that 1 plane out of 5 flies empty. Is it a really good use of the aircraft? It certainly can make money. And that generally happens during the low seasons because airlines need to keep operating their planes. Maybe through ACMI, there can be less of that. And that's how some airlines will have a higher average load factor. And that will make more sense from many, many aspects. Profitability of the airline, for one, for sure. But there's another one that is just as important. Airlines have taken on board a lot of debt. A lot of planes are being delivered to the airlines, which will require airlines to raise more capital. It could be that ACMI can be used also as a way for airlines to generate more profitability. And thanks to that additional profitability, it helps them reduce the amount of debt that they have on their books, which will facilitate the raising of more capital. And maybe because they have a stronger balance sheet, it would also be at a lower cost of capital. I hope that it will be perceived in that way, because that is a constructive way and it's reasonable way to look at the usefulness of our business towards other airlines involved in taking people from A to B just as safely and making money from that business.
Looking forward into the next 36 months or so, firstly, what are the group's plans, fleet development and expansion, and how do you think that the industry how will the perception of ACMI develop within the industry?
So there's 2 aspects of the question. The first one, we're going to remain cautious on increasing the fleet. We're going to become even more cautious as to how we manage the fleet. And the group is investing in more IT solutions to help all the airlines of the group to better manage the assets and have a more efficient communication with the lessors that are, we are very grateful to all the lessors that are supplying aircraft to our group and other participants in the industry so that they have a better perception of our business. And then on the perception of our business with regulators, with financial partners, with governments, other airlines that currently are not using ACMI, there's a lot of work being done with them. So they understand the benefits of our solutions. They understand the economic impact of our solution. I mean, you mentioned passenger and cargo, we're talking about combining. There are a lot of parts in the world where they need solutions to increase the transportation of people and the transportation of goods, where you can do a journey taking you several hours or several days in a bus. And in order for you to go back and forth to get goods from a market and bring those goods back to where you'll be commercializing those goods, can take a week. It will take a round trip within the same day with a plane. Your goods are going to be transported separately from you. In the plane, they can go very quickly in the belly of the cargo. Some airlines in some parts of the world sell those prepackaged bags where you can load them with 40, 50 kilos, and they sell them at $250 per package. And you see them at the airports. This is all individuals that have a small business that go to a market to get goods and bring them back to their market so they can trade. But with the conventional way of going through a bus or a truck, maybe they do one round trip a week, maybe 3 days, 4 days. The plane, they will do it with 1 day. They accelerate that growth. They accelerate that economic impact. This is an enormous benefit of aviation, and it is not spoken enough. It goes beyond airlines. It goes beyond regulators. This is affecting real people that have small businesses, and it's accelerating their reach, accelerating their business. And I'd love to talk more about this. I believe aviation and ACMI will support different parts of the world to grow that business early on without having to make huge investments, because the group can actually provide all these solutions. Airline, infrastructure on the ground, maintenance, insurance. And for this purpose, we can facilitate the economic growth, the development of many, many regions, both with passenger, with cargo. We do all this. And I believe this will be a lot of development of the group in various parts of the world over the next weeks, months, years.